Welcome to the EntrePastors podcast on YouTube. This is a show that helps pastors think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the EntrePastors podcast on YouTube. My name is John Sanders. I'm one of the co-hosts for the show, and we're excited about the guest you're going to hear from today. His name is Pastor Jaysen Brown, and he is a pastor out in California, has a phenomenal church, has been very successful in real estate, but he's going to talk to us today about the importance of improving our mindset, especially around the area of money. One of the reasons pastors struggle financially is because they struggle mentally in terms of how they think about money and money issues and whether or not it's okay for them to have multiple streams of revenue for their family and if that's an okay thing. And here at EntrePastors, we just want to celebrate others like Jaysen Brown who have gotten that money mindset figured out, and as a result, they're experiencing the abundance that comes as a result of business. So anyway, guys, you're in for a great treat. Without any further ado, let's cut to this interview that Les and I did with Pastor Jaysen Brown. Check this out. Well, Jaysen, welcome to the EntrePastors podcast, my friend. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's great to be here, and I'm glad to meet all of your audience and add value and be an encouragement and be a bright light. So thank you for having me.
You bet, man. You came highly recommended to me by one of the guys that's in our community. He said, man, you got to meet this guy and hear his story. So I'm genuinely excited to do that very thing. Why don't we just start with a simple introduction? Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're serving in the world, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. My name is Jaysen Brown, and I pastor Victory Baptist Church in San Diego, California. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Rochelle, and we are in love. We are absolutely in love. I want to verbally say that out loud because I feel good about that. We'll celebrate 20 years of marriage this year. We have two teenagers that know everything, and they are just the pride of our life. Nolan is 17, he's a senior, and Taylor is 15, she's a sophomore. And I own a real estate fixing and flipping company. I have a real estate brokerage, and I am extremely passionate about global evangelization and sharing the gospel. And I, like you, am high energy, high octane, and love to live the abundant, adventurous life. And so that's me.
Man, that's an awesome introduction. And I already can tell I don't have enough time for this interview. We may have to bring you back for another one because there's a lot I want to talk to you about. I too have raised a few teenagers that know everything. And so that's awesome, man. It's a fun stage of life. We're just a little bit beyond that. I just have one teenager left in the house. Otherwise, I've got my other two that are more on into the young adult years, but it's a fun season, man. I love it. Well, hey, so let's go into this road then. I want to just go right to the real estate stuff. I mean, I hear your passion for worldwide evangelism in the church, but the focus of this podcast is really from the angle of pastors that are involved in the marketplace somewhere, that still are serving powerfully in the church, still showing up powerfully there and fulfilling God's call upon their life in that arena, but have also accepted the invitation to be out in the marketplace doing some other things. So in your case, you mentioned real estate. Tell me that story, man. How did you get involved in real estate, and give me some of the ins and outs of what that looks like on a day-to-day basis for you?
Absolutely. You're going to love this story. This is a rags to riches story of somebody pouring into me. I grew up not in Christianity, in a broken home, and a friend of mine, his dad was a very wealthy real estate broker and banker, and we played baseball together, his son and I. And his son's name is Dale, and the man who mentored me and led me to Christ when I was 15, his name was David Entricken Sr. This guy was amazing. He's in glory now, but he promised me that if I would follow him and be faithful in church, and he would show me how to do business.
Hmm.
And so when I was about 18, 19 years old, right in there, I started getting heavily mentored by him. And he encouraged me to get my real estate license. And I'd watch this man be giving the gospel to everybody. He'd have people in tears in his office. He'd be doing business deals over here, and then he would always take time out if somebody needed love and help, and he would pour the gospel into them. And so I watched how ministry there is no secular versus sacred. It's all sacred for the child of God. And I learned how to do real estate and soul winning and be faithful to church from him, and immediately started making a lot of money right away. I was just, I don't know what you'd call it, an unconscious competent, or somebody that had a level of desire to want to create wealth and is super passionate. And so I pursued that route and learned how to give right away, because he showed me, hey, this is tithe, this is grace give, these are special projects. You need money, go make more money. The sky's the limit. Go knock some doors, go talk to some people, and remember, it's all for King Jesus. And so that's how I got into the real estate industry, and that was 21 years ago.
So then that was you were doing that even before you started pastoring. Is that a fair guess on my part?
Yeah, it's a funny story too, because I got into the real estate industry around 19 years old, 18, 19, and God called me to preach at 22. I vividly remember being in a sales training meeting at the company I was at. It was called Steel Canyon. Well, back then it was called Help You Buy Realty. And we would help clients do the real estate, and we would do the loan, and we'd get both pieces. We'd give them a discount on the real estate side, give them 1% if they did the loan with us. And then we'd get the loan commission as well. So we'd actually make more money. But I remember teaching a group of maybe 50 real estate agents and loan officers, and God was impressing on my heart a call to preach. And I didn't realize it. I didn't know it. I just felt God flowing out of me. And I remember getting so wound up.
Hey, we just lost your audio there, Jaysen. We did. Your audio cut out there. You said you felt God pouring out of you, and then we lost the audio. I'm going to mark the time. And
oh yeah, I think it's my earbuds. Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I got you.
Awesome. So I could feel the passion flowing out of me, and I started preaching. I just started preaching to all those agents and loan officers. And I remember there was a few pastors in the back that were maybe in their 40s and 50s, and they came up to me and they go, "Are you a preacher? Are you a preacher?" And I thought, no, I'm not a preacher. I'm a businessman. But I'm a soul winner. And shortly thereafter, God confirmed his call in my life to preach the gospel. And I started traveling with my pastor around the world to preach the gospel at 22 years old.
Wow. So I'm guessing then for you maybe did not go through some of that normal tension that what I would call a traditional pastor that went into ministry, pastoral ministry first, and that's the only thing they've ever known. And now they're looking at, transitioning into some kind of entrepreneurial thing. There's some mental stuff we have to get through in terms of our relationship with money. And is it okay to make a lot of money? And is it okay that I have something in addition to my ministry in the church? Can I have a ministry outside of the church in the marketplace? Is it fair to say you might not have had to struggle with some of those mindset issues because the business was already there? Now pastoring is just something you're doing in addition to business.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. That programming, that paradigm of a limited mindset and a really a false view of money was not planted into me, and an abundance mindset was given to me right from the beginning. So I wasn't confined to those theological limitations that were planted by some Bible colleges and well-intended good people, but yet maybe ignorant in some of those areas.
Yeah, so well said, man. Like that's so often I'm telling pastors, like, it is not the voice of God that's telling you that it's not okay for you to flourish and thrive and have some things and have some experiences that you can share with your family. Like that is the voice of someone else. It's the voice of tradition. It's the voice of Bible colleges, as you said, like that is given to us by someone else. And that's the point of this platform and our community, is to help pastors kind of shed that and move into a healthier. So let's go down that path for a minute. I know in our backstage portion, I'm gonna ask you a simple question: how can a pastor make more money? So without totally answering that question here, talk about our mindset when it comes to money. Like, what, from your experience, what do you see pastors really stuck on or hung up on? And if you could maybe change one thing, like what would that be? If you could come in and just zap someone with a magic wand and affect the pastors in this arena, in this area, like what would it be? Just go any direction you want with that question.
Oh, my soul. I would love to have the magic wand power,
Yeah.
and just be like, boom, thou shalt prosper. And so absolutely, I would give them the abundance mindset, let them know sky's the limit, and that you're only limited by your thinking. And most of the time we are not thinking. We're not using our 6 intellectual faculties that God has given to us. We only use our 5 senses, and then we use the programming of others. See, the Bible says we walk by faith, not by sight. And yet most pastors walk by sight. They go off the 5 physical senses of touch, taste, smell, seeing, hearing, but they don't learn how to think using the imagination faculty, which is the workshop of the mind and the next best thing to time travel. And that's really what God uses with faith and hope, to be able to lift the lid and think about what it is that we want to accomplish. And I do say want to accomplish, and I don't say need, I say want, because there's a lot of pastors and people that are stuck on this limited reasoning faculty, which is a great faculty, but it's very much rooted in deductive thinking and not inductive thinking. It comes with a conclusion based on a certain programming, rather than going out with fact-finding missions of bringing in clarity and power to be able to say, all things are possible with God, and what do I want to accomplish based upon the desires God's put inside my heart. So I would love to open up the minds in that area and help them to see the sky's the limit.
Man, you're tapping into something, that a theme I deal with pastors on a lot in the coaching that I do with them. And it's been a verse that has been a favorite of mine for years. It's Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. This thought that when we are yielded to God, when we're surrendered to him, when we're seeking his will in our life, we can actually trust the desires in our heart. And so that question of what do you want, that is not some trivial question or something to suppress because it's not spiritual and holy. Like, that's a powerful question. What do you want? Because if you're following God, there's a really good chance that those desires came from him. Like, the reason I want to do certain things is because God put that in me. That desire is a good thing. So let's go down the route of real estate for just a little bit. One of the things I love about this community is that we're helping pastors in all kinds of different arenas. Like, we're not creating robots that are all doing the same things. There's a lot of different ways for pastors to show up in the marketplace and use their skills, their passions, their interests. For you, it's real estate. Now, I heard you say you had a mentor that kind of showed you the ropes in that. But what do you love about real estate? If you and I were just meeting and I'm sitting here thinking about, what career path should I choose? Why did you go down the real estate route? What keeps you there? What do you love about that part of your work in the marketplace?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. And the reason I'm passionate about real estate is it gives you time freedom, and it gives you financial freedom, and it gives you flexibility. It allows you to work with all kinds of people in various backgrounds and cultures. So you're not stuck in one fishbowl of thinking. And I love it for all those reasons. I can set my own schedule. I could be on the other side of the world preaching the gospel, or I can be enjoying a great vacation with my family in the island somewhere, or I can be, ministering anywhere, and be able to look at the market, create a deal, talk to a client, and put an extra, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in my pocket, and not be stuck to this trading time for money paradigm. I'm so glad that when I got into real estate, I learned that I am far more capable of creating wealth than I ever thought I was. And when you take a part of all you earn from those deals and you invest it into income producing assets, now all you're doing is you're making yourself that much better to serve in the gospel ministry and more effective to bless other people.
Man,
So that's why I love real estate.
I love that. So what advice would you give to a pastor? Because by the way, personally, this is an area that I want to get into. I keep finding myself drawn back to real estate. And so I've got some goals around that. So even speak to me on this. Like, what advice would you give me, who currently sits here with no assets in terms of real estate, income producing properties? What advice would you give to someone like me that says, man, this year it is my goal by the end of the year to have my first investment property? And I feel myself drawn more toward like the short rental, Airbnb stuff. I'm wide open to other avenues. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of voices out there, and it's, again, even in real estate, there's a lot of directions you can go. But what advice would you give to someone? I know it's a really broad question, but what direction would you give a pastor that's thinking about jumping into that space?
I would say, yes, do it, jump. Now, as you're thinking about this, and I do mean thinking, make sure you're starting with the end in mind. A lot of famous, wonderful, powerful, high-achieving people understand the principle of starting with the end in mind. So I want you to think about yourself as if you already have that piece of real estate, or that 5 pieces of real estate, or 50 pieces of real estate, and visualize in your mind's eye with your understanding of what that looks like, what it feels like. And what you're looking to do is to defeat the programming that you have right now. Can I do it? Yes, you can do it. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. If lost people can do it, if Christians can do it, certainly you can do it. So a lot of it has to do with belief. And the way we feed our belief, the positive belief, the powerful belief, is you start with the end in mind through visualization, then you write it down. Okay, you want 1 piece of real estate, you want 5 pieces, write it down. You can have that this year if you'll believe it, if you'll write it down. And through the power of repetition. Repetition is how you build cells of awareness. And so just like you learned your name, that's how they told you John. Eventually you built cells of awareness, you understood your name. Same thing when it comes to building cells of awareness with regards to a new programming of real estate. Write down, like, for example, today I'm doing 10 flips. I wrote 10 flips this year. I have a goal of $1 million. I write that down right here. I'm going to give $300,000 this year personally. I'm going to raise, and I've got all these different goals that I write it down every day. I visualize those properties. I thank God for them, and I'm planting it right into my understanding. And then I get up and I simply start looking like Eleazar did with Abraham when he was looking for Isaac's wife, where I start looking for the blessing, asking, seeking, and knocking. Before you know it, you are so much closer to owning and receiving all that the desires inside your heart than you ever thought you were. And so that's the advice I would give. Start with the end in mind. And then this last point, use gratitude. Gratitude is like the reel on a fishing pole, that when you cast your line out and you're reeling, you got a bite out there. What that is gratitude is expressing thanksgiving for something that you believe is already on the line. Faith says, I believe it. Hope says, I can feel it. But gratitude starts reeling that thing in. And before you know it, man, you'll have a big old nice piece of real estate kicking off cash flow for you.
I love that, man. What I love about that answer, first of all, I agree with 100% of what you said. I could show you my written goals. I could show you my visualization board that's on the wall of my office. I could show you my morning routine that has those affirmations. And again, I know some, especially pastors in the Christian church, might hear this and go, man, that sounds really woo-woo. But there's a lot of science behind that, of what happens in our mind when we start seeing that, and what all of a sudden we start recognizing that in our future changes, because we can think ourselves into a different future. And so I love that you didn't just go right to, well, you need to listen to this podcast or buy that course.
and start doing the learning. It's like there's some mental shifts that need to happen, whether it's real estate or anything. I just love that you went to that, man. So good answer. I couldn't have written it better myself. Way to go. So let's do this. I want to be thoughtful of our time because I'm going to ask you a question in our backstage about how a pastor can make more money. And I think we might be starting to kind of tiptoe around some of these things. But I got two more questions for this side of the interview, going a little bit different route. Here's something else I hear from pastors on a regular basis. It comes to this area of time. And man, John, I already feel overwhelmed as a pastor leading a church, trying to keep all my stuff together. And now here you are encouraging me to start a business, to go into some kind of entrepreneurial thing. How do I keep it all straight? So when I find someone that's doing well in ministry and the marketplace, I love to ask them about their practice for time management. How do you keep it all straight? How do you do multiple things and do well in all those areas? What are some things that work well for you to keep it all together and keep you moving forward?
Great question. And I have a lot of people that ask me this question because they'll see me pastoring a church on Sunday and then over on another part of the world on Monday, and then enjoying, snowboarding or surfing another day. And they're wondering, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And my answer is all of us can do it. Every single one of us. We're all designed in the image of God, and all of us have the same amount of time. Amen. And it's not a matter of somebody having more talent. What it's a matter of is somebody utilizing passion with intelligence, And there's a lot of pastors that are insane. They want wonderful things, but they keep doing the same thing over and over. That's the definition of insanity. Like, boom, boom, stop it. Listen, experience isn't the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. And it's so important that we say, what am I doing with my time? I have 86,400 seconds deposited into my bank of time today. Every single other person does as well. Elon Musk, the pastors that you admire, the evangelists, every single one of us. And so the big question is, how can I redeem the time? How can I leverage my time? You see, poor and middle-class people trade their time for money. Rich, wealthy people trade their finances and other people's time for money. And this goes into the cash flow quadrants, going from an employee to self-employed to a business owner to an investor. And that's a Robert Kiyosaki book. And when you change your programming and you start realizing, I do not want to be stuck trading my time for a certain dollar amount. No, I'm much more valuable than that. And when you invest into your mind, which your mind and your body and yourself is your greatest investment, not all this other stuff. Empty your purse into your mind, and your mind will empty your money back into the purse, is what Benjamin Franklin said. And so I would encourage starting with thinking, using the intellectual faculty in prayer, thinking, what would I want to accomplish? What businesses do I want? What investments do I want? Realizing it's possible, and then getting next to those people, asking them questions, learning what they do. Remember, poor people, they spend all their money and they invest what's left. Rich people invest their money and then spend what's left. Grant Cardone, one of my mentors, he talks about taking 40% of your income and kicking it off and living like you're broke. And the richest man in Babylon taught this principle: 10% of all you earn is yours to keep. Both are very similar principles. One is 10%, one goes as far as 40%. Now, you and I both know, along with everybody listening, we understand the first belongs to God. Yes, give God what's his. He's preeminent. He's our partner. He's our Lord. He's everything. After that, be thinking, how can I take this portion and put it towards a savings that will go into an investing? Remember, we don't save to save, we save to invest. Yep. And here's what happens. When you invest like that into a company, into an assistant, into a secretary, all of a sudden you have that much more time on your hands.
Yep.
And work is still getting done, and you become even more profitable.
Yep, absolutely. And what I find is that the people that are really getting a lot done with their time and being productive with their time you find those people also having the most margin in their life because they've learned those skills and disciplines. And what you said, that early on, that principle, it's just true. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. My guess is you probably don't binge watch just tons of seasons of TV on Netflix on a normal night. That's probably not how you invest some of those 24 hours in a day. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I don't do that. I mean, I'll watch movies occasionally here and there, but most of the time I'm listening, I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm building teams of people and giving them direction. But I still enjoy life. I'll still watch a little bit, but not all the time.
Absolutely. It's just, I get those questions a lot over the years too, as someone who's planted and been a part of a growing church, been in full-time firefighting, had multiple podcasts, a coaching business. People will ask me, how do you get all that done? And I've said the exact same thing to them. We've all got the same 24 hours in a day. My day starts with a very regimented morning routine that is very life-giving to me. And well, normal people are doing normal people things. I'm not doing a lot of those things. And it just comes down to where you invest those 24 hours. So I love that, man. That's so good. Well, let's do this. Let me just ask one more question here, and then we'll take you backstage and go deeper into this question of how can a pastor really make money? Again, you're already giving us some phenomenal things around that, but if somebody wanted to reach out and connect with you, if they had any specific questions and they're like, man, where do I get more of this guy? First of all, are you open to that? And secondly, how would they find you and where would they reach you at?
Yes, I'm wide open for it. I can be emailed at pastor@greatvictory.org, pastor@greatvictory.org. And I am glad to help pastors, ministry leaders, business leaders. And I am putting together a global vision network along with seminars and conferences this year. And so I am so glad to pour value in and lift the lid of as many people as I possibly can for the glory of God.
I love it. Well, Jaysen, the time is going way too fast, man. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I hope this is not the last time we're talking. Well, I know it's not going to be because we're going to be backstage here in just a few minutes, but thank you so much for coming on the show and investing into this audience, and I'm confident that your story and your message is going to be an inspiration to many out there, so thank you so much.
Thank you, John. It's been a blessing to be with you.
Well, hey, thanks for watching this episode of the EntrePastors podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we release a new episode. If you'd like to get connected to other pastors who are learning to think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs, then we invite you to check us out on Facebook. Just search for the EntrePastors Connect group, answer a few of our simple questions there, and we'd love to include you in the conversations. And if you're really ready to go to the next level, then we invite you to join our EntrePastors membership community. When you become a monthly subscriber, you will receive access to courses, exclusive community, and coaching that will help you along in your own EntrePastors journey. If there's anything else we can do to serve you, please visit us at EntrePastors.com, and we will do our best to serve you there. God bless everybody. See you soon.